I think it's because the players and everyone else in the world knows that Saudi Arabia is shamelessly using the celebrity and the status of these players to sports wash its image. The players know fully well that the reason the Saudi Arabian government is spending billions of dollars to acquire sports competitions around the world, including this golf tournament, is because it desperately needs to rebrand itself as sports friendly. Basically, these celebrity golfers are using their name, are allowing their name to be used to advertise for a murderous, brutal government.
Do you think the first tournament should have even gone ahead?
Well, the tournament, of course, is welcome to go ahead. The question is who participates, who supports, who are the advertisers who participate in this, who is profiting from Saudi Arabia's efforts to whitewash its ugly war crimes, its ugly criminal, brutal behavior. That's the real question we need to be focusing on.
What have some of the golfers said about taking part, and what did you make of their reasoning?
It's pretty embarrassing. I think we've heard people like Michelson say, "Oh well, yeah, I know it's a heinous, brutal regime that is carrying out war crimes in Yemen, murdering journalists, sentencing LGBT people to death. But well, you got to make a buck, and it sure is a lucrative deal." It's really shocking the extent to which these golfers have openly acknowledged what a heinous client they're serving, how really crudely they're selling their names to the highest bidders without the least regard of their own moral and ethical standing in this world, before their children, before their fans. They are completely abrogating any respect for their own name and their own reputations and their own responsibilities as role models to the broader community.
It's not the first time Saudi Arabia has sponsored massive sports tournaments, from horse racing to Formula One and boxing. So is this one any different?
Well, I don't know what's any different other than the sport is different, other than the extent to which we have particularly prominent individuals who are leading figures in golf and act as advertising agents for numerous companies. The fact that they're willing to sell their names to be branded for such an ugly government is, I think, what's pretty remarkable and startling. And the sums of money that they're being paid to do this, really, it just means this is my price tag to be sold for however ugly, however nasty, inhumane a message.
So in your view then, to what extent do athletes have a moral obligation to take a stand and be selective about which tournaments they take part in? Where do they draw the line?
Well, obviously, sports athletes have a responsibility because we are well out of the world where sports is a very narrow, limited matter. It's something that is a worldwide business with worldwide recognition and standing, and sports figures are public figures. And to that extent, they're also businesses, and they have a legal and ethical duty to inquire about where their profits are coming from, whether or not the profits that they're making are contributing to or benefiting from human rights abuses. Any athlete, any individual looking at their business transactions with the Saudi government would clearly see that their profits from the government are benefiting from the government's human rights abuses and contributing to the government's human rights abuses by whitewashing its image. So absolutely, they have a moral, ethical, and legal duty to take responsibility for who they do business with, who they profit from, and not to do business with human rights abusers.
So presumably this applies to footballers taking part in the World Cup finals taking place in Qatar, the first to be hosted in the Middle East as well?
I think so, and I think athletes have already stood up in a number of cases to talk about the abuses in Qatar, particularly with respect to migrant workers. I think there is a distinction, and the government of Qatar has tried to address a lot of the issues with regard to migrant worker abuses. Clearly, revelations show that those efforts have been inadequate, and they have not done enough. But I think that there's a dramatic difference between 6 years of indiscriminate bombardment of the Yemeni people, leading to over 500,000 deaths, millions of people subject to starvation, as well as the blatant torture, murder of a journalist in a Saudi embassy, which the Saudi government has never taken responsibility for, has never paid reparations for, has never tried to hold its own record accountable for.
Sarah Leah Whitson, thanks for joining The World. Appreciate your time.